is these two parts of the Dakshinayana and the Uttarayana that have us at the level of the experience of Dwapar Yuga, duality. Experience ourselves as if coming into wholeness, as a lived experience. So that is why in our holistic care, all practices are dependent on bringing into ease, right? From dis-ease, which the separate self experiences, it's the nature is unease, coming to ease simply by one step. Let's align with nature. And the first step to that, that's why when we don't remember who we are, that's why in ancient cultures, Native Americans, everybody, we would look outside, right, at nature. How are the stars moving? What season are we in? What are the shifts, the phases of the moon? Even astrology, the placement of planets, all of that. Because there is no difference between the I that I seem to be appearing as this play, as if looking out from these five senses, versus that which is seen on the outer. So this is the power right now. So Dakshinayana phase flavor, if I have to put it, is the feminine, darkness, longer nights. So contemplative, coming into silence, however that we experience it for ourselves. If you have to look at it as phases in both, if Uttarayana is the waxing masculine phase, so it's the sun projecting light outwards. The Dakshinayana phase is the moon, it's the waning phase. Right? And very key. It is the phase of receptivity. To become subtle, this is the time to become subtler so we can receive. Receive from our own self, because there's only one self. But at the level of the Dwapar Yuga play, we're standing as a person, and the conditions and beliefs that we carry as a person is that appears to be the obstacle. Every identity, right, has this concrete idea, creates this structure as if the I is this, putting the rest of that which is appearing that we are outside of us. So this Dakshinayana, that's why it asks us to come within, dissolve. And that allows for receiving, seeing, being more of that which we are. So that is the thing. And then that which we receive, we can look at Uttarayana phase now. That's why Kaivalya Pada, bringing into realization, bringing into light. So that becomes like the expressive phase, right? New Year with the energy of going out, right? So from one perspective, that's why Dakshinayana phase can even be seen as, everything of course is equanimous, but when you look at it from this context, Dakshinayana is so important because it's a pivotal time, because it's dealing with the root, and that's why the lower chakras. That is what is going to do, because the lower chakras have to do with our experience at this level, at the level of matter. The level of experience, right, the grounding upon which the lower chakras are, is going to determine how stable we are when our energy ascends. All, of course, very clear, context is everything, is only at the level of experience that's happening. That which I am does not descend or ascend. Simply is. So that is, primary is that non-practice of staying aware. But what does that allow for? It allows us to play the game that we are appearing as, and that's why we are here as mind. So that we can play this game beautifully. So it's like in Mahabharata, that's why, right? When Arjuna invokes Krishna, he's got the reins in his hand. The horse, you can lead it in the direction as the unique expression that you are. So that's part of the play. So Dakshinayana is very, very key, that half, right, of there where we are beginning from the root. So we are sensing into that. Dakshinayana begins at the Ashadha Masam. So in the Indian culture, Ashadha Masam is the monsoon season. Speaking here in these terms of Dakshinayana based on the northern hemisphere, right? Because for the southern hemisphere, it's the opposite. So for the northern hemisphere, of course, Ashadha Masam, so it's Dakshinayana right now. And it's very, very points to the feminine nature and what the subtle nature allows for. It's the portal to deepen. So water, fluid. So one way to perceive this is to see everything as dancing states of consciousness, right? That which I am, that is the formless, that is the unconditioned, that's the unlimited, appears through and as mind to play as the limited, as different conditions, which are different. Mind is conditions, different realities, different dreams. Similarly as form. So everything that perceivably that our eyes see, right, are symbols, are states of consciousness. This is a subtler way of sensing. See, the gross level, we really see only from the conditions, so we see things as static. But when we start sensing at a subtler level, it's like fluid. Fluid. That's why the light touch, true power at the lightest level, is sensing deeply, just very lightly. Doesn't take much, but sees deeply. So that's why water is a powerful symbol and also a powerful pathway of practice through which we can make the most of this Dakshinayana phase. So in the larger cycle, if we look at transformation for this 24, 25, 26, we are going into age of Aquarius. It's water-like. Age of Pisces was for the religion, where Pisces is the fish that floats in the sea of water. Right? There's a different flavor to it. As a fish, as form, as that fish, mainly. One perspective, right? The way that we look at it. Age of Aquarius, we can literally say it's like the waters. One way to look at it. So it's the water quality. So Ashadha Masam really points at that whenever it pours or it rains, right, all of nature is now subtly vibrating. So we can make the most of those times. So monsoon season in the Indian culture, depending on what kind of the context that you're speaking to, the state of consciousness that you're speaking with and within which it arises, they would say that is inauspicious, right? This is only in the context for the unconscious Dwapar Yuga state of mind, which is living as the five senses reality looking outwards, right? So its attention is caught and mesmerized by the outer movement of the world. So then naturally it's going to move towards that, to do outward activities. So that's when it's invited inwards to say, hey, this is inauspicious, to say that this is not the time, like generally no festivities, weddings, and all of that is not kept during this time, because it says come inwards, sense deeper. So more so-called sacred activities, inward facing activities that will help you sense your deeper self are encouraged. Right? So Ashadha Masam, why? Because that allows for it. And this can be a very powerful way. So this is one practice. Right? So many practices will come through, just reminding for the resonance aspect. All paths will take you to Rome. All paths appear to take us to the same spaceless space of the realizing of that which I already am. Right? Because it's not becoming. Pick whichever practice, don't pick too many. Because the mind that is the one that perceives the many, arises as the 10,000 things, thinks gaining more knowledge, gaining more perspectives, knowing more, right? Because that's the Dwapar Yuga play as smriti, as memory. Knowledge is power. The more knowledge I know, the more power I seem to have, right? That's a different context. The paradigm shift is to know that the one mind, right, is appearing as the many. Direct path, know thy nature. Know the mind and you know everything. Because it is the knowing. It is the root of everything. So even with practices, it doesn't matter which practice you pick. Every practice within it holds the potency to take you to that spaceless space, because you are it. Only at the Dwapar Yuga dual level you're doing the practice. Right? Ultimate non-practice, it's all going to take you to being aware. So pick anything that resonates, because this is going to be a series of videos that I'm going to be sharing. Pick any practice and deepen. That is the secret, one secret for sadhana that came through a few years ago for me. So like, take one, because the nature of this mind is to explore, right? We all know that, and have ahas and have insights. Lovely experience, no doubt. But there comes a time when we pick one practice that we know after exploring whatever and deepen into that. Okay? So this can be one practice, which is connecting to water. Because anything as state of consciousness that we connect to, we're not connecting to it deep enough, we are vibrating as it. So this is an invitation to become water-like. So what is the nature and the power of water, as we know? She flows. Right? That's the power of the feminine. She flows. She can take, she's a shapeshifter. Okay? She can take the shape of any context. That is the nature of the feminine mind, the one mind. She is the womb, right, that births everything, every dream. Right? That's what we call the Divine Mother. Right? So she is shape-shifting. Right? That is why at the level of Kundalini energy, we say she's the one. She can peel off, shed off her skin for every context and take shape. Right? She doesn't hold herself as a concrete idea. So she can be in any space and be absolutely comfortable and find it to be her home, because she's never outside of herself. She knows everything arises from within her. That is the feminine nature of embracing her world and holding her world without any sense of otherness. And that is her true power to stand in any given moment for what is sovereignty, right? That is that self-authority that arises from within, the knowingness of the I am. Right? So water holds that power. The water, to be water-like, to be present to any situation, is the power of water. And she finds her way, right, through the least resistant path. She will not become resistance when she faces resistance. She finds the least resistant path. And the way where there is resistance outside, her loving flow dissolves all resistance. That is the power of water. So when we connect this wisdom, if we are exploring it as duality, all is one, there's nothing outside. But if we're exploring it as this, when we connect to water, we can say that that wisdom is there in the water. Water speaks to us. These practices, that's why we see self-care. Self-care practices really feel healing to the masculine dominant mind, right? That is still yo-yoing as that and feels depleted. So self-care practices, that's why taking a shower, when we are in the shower and in that moment, let's say a song, feel like singing a song, right? That deeper aspect of us, or we have insights that we know that has come from somewhere within me. Oh my God, right? Solutions come. We know that, right? When you're soaking in the tub. Was it Newton? What was it? Right? Like soaking in the tub and it's like in water, and aha, where did that come from? That deeper seeing, right? That discovery. It's the water, the ability when we become subtle with water. So Dakshinayana, powerful time to connect with water. And this can be done anywhere. Drink a glass of water by connecting to that water. Speak to that glass of water. Speak to me, I'm open. Body is made with 80% water. So when we honor that which we consume, so to drink with that, I'm open to you. There's more to me, and at this point perhaps I don't see it, right? And everything arises in the perfect moment. So it's not a needing, but it's an honoring, right? So we drink with that. That wisdom percolates into our bloodstream, into our muscles. That is the rasa quality. Right? This living life as a liquid is the divine elixir, Amrita. I am Saraswati, rasa of life. That is the sattva quality. Saraswati is the quality of sattva, higher resonance. It is the rasa, the juice of life when we taste. That is what is then later expressed and created and lives as the outer, as ojas. The radiance and the light of the masculine is born from the rasa of the feminine. She is the juice. The subtle gives birth to the gross and the experience of the gross. Both are equanimous. Simply the experience will come from the level of awareness, state of consciousness. So can I sense that? So now, sadhana is as simple as this. It is enjoyment, it can be love. Right? So water can be the way. So this is the wisdom of everything being set as Ashada Masam. Our dietary habits as well would change. We are aligning with nature. If we eat or overeat a lot, basically consumption. So the Dakshinayana phase is of emptying the cup. At the level of the Dwapar Yuga, it's like the experience of Dwapar Yuga, the body is a container. If it's full of its ideas from the world, it cannot hold more. It's saturated with the world and its conditions and ideas. It only sees from that lens. So Dakshinayana, that's why potent and powerful, I don't know. It's emptying ourselves out. It is stepping, that's why, into darkness as the unknown. Not to fear the unknown, because the unknown is that which we are. It's the dark womb of the Divine Mother holding us. So when we say, really ultimately, when we are not carrying any concept and we are moving as empty, timeless, the words that come out is, I don't know. That means that conceptually I don't know. But the words that I don't say is that I am the unknown, the potential from which all knowing arises. It's living through life baggage free, light, because every moment allows for knowing. Then why have these ideas? Then we meet every moment fresh. Right, so that's the invitation for this time. So Ashada Masam is the time that we begin the encouragement of fasting. Right? Later we'll see Navratri, all of that, and our There are many Navratris, right? But the Sharat Navratri, which is in autumn, and autumn is a big month, like a big time, okay, big season, which is a critical phase, one would say again, which is fall, right? August, I would say. We'll go into that. The time, that's why these shifts, we're emptying ourselves. So it's all about consuming. So this time, whether it is the mental consumption or the food that we eat, all of that, it invites us to be mindful about it, right? Because if we overeat and stuff like that, then that becomes more denser. To become subtle, we need to be empty, we need to be open. So that is why these fasts were kept. But the way that any mind approaches it will determine the experience of it. So instead of, because I get this question often and I see that, like, it's like this, I have to torture myself and fix myself, and it's like hard. One way to do it, every pathway is valid for you that resonates. Way of gentle exploration of loving curiosity, adoration, right? To eat lighter foods that can be enjoyed, and to eat fewer times in a day. So if you're eating heavy meals, come down to eating lighter, maybe one meal a day, or eat liquids, right? However this is, and wherever we find ourselves through this Dakshinayana phase is perfect. Right? Perfect. So it's not about being somewhere conceptually what anybody is telling us. The age of Aquarius, moving as intuition, it has to come from within. So this builds a deep sense of trust. First, of course, we say the trust within ourselves. And that state of trust allows us to see the whole experience as one being. And so whatever is then arising on the outer, so-called outer, through the words of another or from the world, we know what to trust. Right? Because the resonance is there. So that's the invitation of this. So that's why in Ashada Masam, these all things, it's a grand start, one may say. So Dakshinayana, just kind of give you the picture of this is what Dakshinayana is about. How we are going to explore this, what's coming through really, is to explore this with the beauty of seeing the perfection of nature via the seasons, of course, right? The fall and the winter that we know of, letting go and stuff, but also via the moon phases. So if we look at the phase of Uttarayana as a waxing phase, the larger cycle, and then Dakshinayana is the waning phase coming in, right, dissolving, then every circle that we look at allows us to shorten the time frame, that eventually every minute becomes an arising and a dissolution. Like the day, the daylight, the daytime becomes the waxing phase, nighttime is the waning phase, right? We dissolve, we go back to sleep for the Dwapar Yuga state. Similarly, when we become more and more aware, the linear time frame starts to shorten. We start living as every moment that things arise is the arising of it, and seeing of it is the waxing phase, and every next moment is like the dissolving of it. It's that one moment arises and dissolves, arising. So we're becoming present, timeless here. And then life appears, right? The experience of life is much simpler, right? I'm awareness, everything that is needed arises perfectly in the moment and dissolves. So the mind is not living as a linear, like our beginning and our ending is not a linear, it's not an outcome that is far away, that we are trying to achieve. That's a different experience. We realize that the fullness of every moment that is the love that it is, that attention, is all there is. That is the arising, that is the dissolving. right? And we can explore it at any level. And that naturally happens because consciousness is living. Whatever state we are in, that perfect at that cycle, we'll be exploring our life. Bring forth the idea of the perfection of that which is, even that which the mind perceives and defines as imperfection. The beauty of the perfect moment that allows for the next thing to arise. When we honor that, that is the flavor that is experienced. That's the thing of gratitude, reverence, presence, all of that. Right? So every moment is that daylight. So this phase, we can explore it at a closer cycle, you can say, right? Because the moon, which is fortnight. So if I take it for Dakshinayana, when it began itself, June 21st was summer solstice, the beginning of Dakshinayana phase. June 22nd is the full moon. June 22nd to July 5th, the new moon that just went by, is the first invitation waning cycle of come in. Right? The first invitation of going inwards. All of nature starting its first step of stepping inwards. So that's why, this phase of Dakshinayana in the Indian culture is called as the time when devas and devis, right, gods and goddesses, pretty much just pointing to the world of form, right, go to sleep, or more accurately, go into yoga nidra. Right? Yoga nidra is the powerful meditative state where that which we are is aware, but the body is deeply resting. So this is the time of that rest. So this is the time, Dakshinayana is the time of yoga nidra. In that sense, very powerful practice. That's why meditation, being, mindfulness, however that calls to us. So when we look at this as the cycles, and that's how we'll explore it. Okay? So because we really then get to see through the moon phases how aligning with the dance of this waning and waxing phases of the moon, we can align with that to allow for the most seeing and being of the highest possibility that is uniquely moving through us as the body, if we speak at it at the level of the body. Right? So that's the invitation. Right? So 2024, especially, we are at the largest cycle, if you look at it as years, as yugas, very pivotal, very pivotal. Right? So moon phases, right? So June 22nd full moon till July 5th was the first step inwards, going inwards, and we may be, sensing into that as well. Now, we are going from July 5th, which was the new moon, into the first waxing phase and ending it with the full moon, a big full moon that is coming up, which is the Guru Poornima. Right? That's on the 21st of July that is coming up. So it is within the Dakshinayana waning phase. This is the phase of going inwards, and how I sense it is we go inwards into the unknown and kind of dissolve, and that's our silent phase. One may say, however we may sense this. And then during the waxing phase, we allow for these insights or knowing and everything naturally to arise into the light of our being. Right? So it's an inward thing, because as the body we are faced inwards. So this is a beautiful time to write, journal, right? Waxing phase especially. So I keep my waning phases of the moon cycle to really be empty, to meditate, kind of really be blank in that sense. And then the waxing phase to journal. Because whatever has been there, and eventually, like I said, I'm just putting it in this cycle. Eventually, as we start becoming more and more present, even the moon phases are not taken into consideration, because every arising moment becomes presence. So then you become this open portal of deeper seeing. That is what it is. You live as what the mystics would point. Mystics, the seers, visionaries, however that flavor might be, or the empath, the healer, the one who's open portal, right? Immediate sensing. in the moment. So just kind of want to show you wherever you find yourself, perfection. So the waxing phase in this can be experienced as that, to bring into light. Right? So that's what's happening now from July 5th till July 21st, Guru Poornima. Now, I want to actually share what came up for me to be seen as this at the moon phases. Right? Of course, moon is symbolic for our soma, the psyche, right? And connecting to the moon, that's why when we do it, when we are consciously doing it, that's why we call as when we bathe in the moonlight consciously and connect to her light, it is living as the soma rasa. Right? That is why there is a madness when you are in full moon. That's what we call that. What the world may see as being a lunatic, right? It's being drenched in soma rasa. It cannot be worded. Right? So that's the power of the moon. It's kind of taking a minute to just acknowledge her as we are celebrating and speaking of her here. That's why the moonlight, is so gentle. So if you get a chance, if you're called to this, right, another practice, in the night, go bathe in the moonlight. Just gaze at the sky. That's one of the reasons we are called to gaze at the sky, at the stars, because innately we know that as a body of being, as a cosmic being that is living itself, that is the more subtler, truer, deeper, more expansive states of consciousness that I am. That's why it feels like home. And we can also kind of, when we bathe in the moonlight, we become very receptive. It's a very gentle, loving light. So that's a practice. That's why another practice again, if you know, is drinking moon water. Moon water. And these are all simply portals through which we can play and experience. So moon water is kept on the night of the full moon, this thing, and the next day we can drink it. And there are practices, these are all for the personal mind, that we need these doorways. We can put intention into that water and drink it. This is how the personal mind experiences itself, gives itself permission to be that which it already is. So we put intentions or whatever. We want to play all of that in the witch circles and all of that. The feminine, right? The feminine ways of the gentle power, understanding the magic of the nighttime, the moon. That's why even tantric practices are all these, done in away from the eyes of the projected world, because it's held sacred. And this all-knowing is within us. So this came as the moon that I really wanted to share. One of the things that moon invites us into, because this is the moon phase, Dakshinayana. The moon is that her dance with the sun shows us that no matter what phase I might appear to show my face as, I am wholeness itself. So this is the understanding of the Isha Upanishad, this thing. Purnamada, Purnamidam. It means that no matter what anything appears as a part, as if separate to the five sensory mind, all is the one divine being that is wholeness itself. So even with the moon, whether what the face that is being shown because of the light that is shining is whether it's a waxing or a waning face, she is wholeness. She doesn't change. So this is a deeper, also something that we can connect to with the moon. Right? So the vision that came through was so beautiful when it was like this full circle. Life is a circle. That's why even though as Dwapar Yuga we are exploring this as masculine, feminine, Uttarayana, Dakshinayana, this way of exploring is only for the Dwapar Yuga state of mind, because we are dancing as the two. So there is a pleasure to exploring the life that which we are. Ultimately, there is no beginning, there is no end. We are a cycle. Even as at the level of the cycle, we are a circle. So there's no beginning, there's no end. That's one way of looking at the one mind. Okay? And of course, beyond that, that also doesn't exist. So what came through, what I actually shared was this circle so beautiful, and it opened up as these two parts as wings. Okay. And what came through was that is the play of Dwapar Yuga, the beauty of Dwapar Yuga. And I really want to name this because to see that mind, that is manifest consciousness. Doesn't matter which state of consciousness, which state of mind, which state of being may be experienced. All is simply phenomena for the joy of experiencing. When our perception, narration, experiences from this state, then we can accept, perceive from and as equanimity, neutral state. So that is the invitation. So this circle opened up as these wings, okay, and it showed the spiritual significance of the symbol that appears as a bird, one, right? What we can sense through the symbol of a bird, the divine bird. In Dwapar Yuga, birds, that's why hold a higher energy, which we may know already in spirituality. If we look at even all religions and all different spiritual this thing, you will see that birds were important symbols. In India, swan for Saraswati, peacock for, Kartikeya, even Saraswati, many other birds as well, if you really look at it. Christianity, the white dove, Egypt, the ibis, I don't know how to pronounce that bird. So birds, the symbol of bird holds a lot of significance. The shape of that form that is appearing in awareness, right? Everything that appears in awareness is our own self reflecting back to us. So when we connect to it from our deeper self, we can sense the symbolic significance of its presence, right? So it opened up as this bird and showed that this is how I, consciousness, take flight, even as conscious Dwapar Yuga. As the phases. So these two wings can be seen as these two phases. It's the masculine and the feminine. When the masculine and the feminine integrate as one, that is the experience of wholeness. Ida, Pingla, the Ganga and the Yamuna align That is when along the spine, Shushumna Kundalini rises. Right? The serpent rises. These are ancient symbols. The dragon, the snake, the bird, right? Phoenix rising from the ashes. These are all metaphors like for this sensing of this. So these two birds, so the masculine, feminine, waxing, waning. Shiva Shakti is exactly that. That which appear as two opposites. That is the nature of this living. That's why it appears as a paradox. So that we can play. Right? That's, just such beauty to that. And then you're great to play in this duality. There's no need to get to anywhere. Because I am the everywhere and nowhere. Right? It's that experience. So for the bird, when it opened up with the wings, a lot of things that came to that will be very can be serving for us during this phase is that when we use both the wings, right? So have you ever seen, and this is one more practice, from water we move to bird now. The word of just observing birds, right? Just sitting. One practice is even sound. Okay, so for age of Aquarius is living at the level of the subtle body, right? Anchoring ourselves at the subtle body. That's why pranayama and all these are subtle body beyond experiences. They create pathways for that. So breath, water, and sound frequencies. These three are the vehicles that are powerful vehicles to experience life at that level, the life that which we are. That means we become that. That means we are unbecoming from the gross to the subtle. Consciousness is an open playground of the sky. Play any which way your heart calls to. If we can sense it, if it arises as a desire, we are already it.
Guru